Hi, my name is Megan Lorson and I am a full-time bridal hairstylist, and today I'm going to show you how to recreate this beautiful boho whimsical down style using some Halo Couture extensions. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is start to prep the hair, and I usually like to start out using a serum or an oil just to get their hair moisturized, start putting some shine into the hair. And that way it'll help to reduce any frizz and again, just start to put some shine into the hair for a beautiful finish. If their hair is super curly or frizzy, especially frizzy, then you're probably going to want to take either a straightener or a curling iron and quickly go through the hair to smooth out the frizz before creating this style. If their hair is already more on the silky side and shiny, then you're not going to have to do a lot of prep work as far as curling or straightening or any of that. You can usually just use a little bit of like a serum or like a cream to just smooth out the frizz. If their ends are a little frizzy, then maybe just run the smoothing iron over the ends just to get those ends smoothed out. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put our Halo Couture hair extensions in. This is number 622. They match her hair perfectly. So I'm just going to start by placing it on her head. And then we're going to grab our Halo Couture rat tail comb and just pull all of this hair up and over the halo band. When you are working with already thick hair, but especially long hair, it can take a little bit longer to pull the hair over the band and just get it all smoothed out, just because you want to make sure that you get all the hair nice and smooth so you don't have any like loopies under here. So just take your time to really get it brushed out because you don't want anything coming up once you start creating the style. So we're just going to go all the way around and take our comb and pull all this hair through. And you can use the end of your rat tail comb to kind of help that hair pull through. And then once you have most of it looped over, I'll switch over to my brush and just kind of help it come all the way through and smooth it. And then just kind of work all the way around the head to make sure all the hair completely came through. Make sure it's nice and smoothed out and everything blends. And here is her hair with the extensions in. I'll lift her up so you can see. They just blend perfectly. But I love using Halo Couture extensions in the hair when doing down styles because it does add that wow factor in bridal hair and just makes it look extra thick, and of course adds a little bit of length as well, which is gorgeous for bridal styles. Once you've got it all smoothed out and all the hair is just laying in the direction that it should be in, then we're going to start creating the crown area first. A lot of times when I'm creating bridal hairstyles, the crown area is usually the first place that I start when creating my looks. Okay, so I'm going to start back here and just take my pointer fingers. I'm going to gather the hair in the middle. Now at this point, I like to, if they need extra volume and like texture up here, if their hair just falls flat really easily, what I would do is go ahead and tease it first. This mannequin already has a ton of texture, so I don't want to add a lot more, but what I would do is just go ahead in sections and tease the crown area, and I would use a little bit of a powder, like a texturizing powder, pump it at the root area first, and then tease. And then I would take my next section, pump my texture powder, and then tease, and then do that to just below the crown area right there, just to give it some texture so you can pinch and manipulate and pull up the amount of volume that you'd like. And I would also do the same thing on the sides. If we needed a little bit more volume built out, just tease it. Use the texture powder first, then tease it. That way you have a little bit more volume all around the top area. But she's got plenty of texture, so we're gonna go ahead and start by creating her crown area for this boho down style. I'm just going to take that top layer of the crown and I'm just going to give it a little twist. And then I'm just going to pull up some texture and volume before we pin it. And it's best to do this, at least some of it, before you pin it because it can get more challenging to pull out volume and texture after you pin it. You definitely still can, but I just like to pull at least a little bit up first. And then I like to take my bobby pin at the end of that twist and then turn it back around and then push it in, and it just locks that in place. And then I can go back through and pinch out a little bit more if I'd like. Once we have that middle section, I'm going to go right beside it and take another section. And if there's still hair under here that didn't come all the way through, just go ahead and comb it through so it's nice and smooth. We're going to take this next section and I'm just going to give it a light twist over here. I'm going to go ahead and pinch out some volume and texture. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab a bobby pin and take the end of that twist and just push it back the opposite way. So I'm like essentially grabbing the hair from the end and then blocking it back in this way. And as you can see, it's holding it right in place. And then I'm gonna take, I like using this comb right here. I call it my fork comb. I don't know the proper name for it, but I just like to keep the hair smooth as I'm working. So just make sure it lays nicely. Then we're going to take one more section on this side. This one's going to be a big section because we're going to take a lot of the rest of that over. But for this style, I want to leave a few little pieces around her face out so we can weave them into the style after. So I'm just going to go through and get a couple of these pieces out and we'll leave them just up front so they'll stay out of the way until we complete the style. I'm going to split this section in half and I'm just going to lightly twist it because I want to add a little bit more texture into the style as this comes back. So I'm just going to twist it a little bit and then I want to pinch and pull this twist out. And if their hair's super slippery, super fine, and it needs more texture, at this point you could pump in some powder, texture powder, and then after pumping the powder in, go ahead and pinch and pull out that twist to expand it more. And then I'm going to just hold it right there, take some bobby pins and lock it in. Again, I'm getting that end and kind of locking it backwards. This is a large piece, so it's going to require more bobby pins. So I'm going to kind of go inside of this twist and stick a bobby pin and we're just going to kind of weave it in there. And then I'm going to put one more in the middle of these twists right here. And I'm just kind of finding a place where I can stick the bobby pins inside those twists so they're not showing. And then after that, I want to just go back and make sure I like the amount of volume and make sure everything's flowing nicely on this side. Make sure it looks proportional and it's all blending and kind of going into each other. Okay, so once we have that side completed, we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to take a little section right here. Again, if you have any loopies or crazy pieces still underneath there that haven't come all the way through, just go ahead and work them through as you're working through the style. And I'm going to just lightly twist this piece, and I'm going to pinch and pull out some volume just to match what we did in the center to make sure it flows nicely. And I'm going to, again, because it's twisted, I'm going to take the end or like the corner of that twist, lock it, and then push it back around the opposite direction. And then take a look at it from the side. If you want any more volume at this point, now is the time to do it, because once we start getting into the style, it's going to make it harder to pull out the amount of volume. And I want a pretty decent amount of volume for this style just because I think it'll look really pretty. So I think that's good right there. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side. We're going to pull out some long wispy pieces. Pull out one at her ear, and we'll just kind of let those hang out up front until we finish the style. The rest of this hair in front of her ear is going to come back, and we're going to split this in 2 sections, just like we did on the other side. What we do to one side, you want to do it to the other side. You just want to make sure things stay as proportional as possible when working through style, so your style stays balanced. Going to twist this, and we're just going to pinch and pull the volume out. Again, if their hair is very silky and fine, you can pump some texture powder into the twist and then fluff it out. And we're just going to bring that over to the other side. I'm going to take the end of that twist and then lock it in by pushing it back the opposite direction. And because this is a thicker piece, we're going to make sure this stays into place. So we're going to weave some bobby pins in the middle, and then we'll come over to this side and make sure that that side is locked in. And then again, you can step back and look at the side, look at everything, make sure it looks nice and proportional, and I think it does. So then the next step of what we're going to do is we're going to take like this whole chunk in the middle, this whole section, and you want to get a little bit more hair underneath because we're going to braid this, but you want to make sure that your braid goes down far enough. So some of these hairs are from what we pulled back and they're shorter, so you don't want your braid to stop too short. So make sure you get hair that's long enough to take it down pretty far. And then I'm going to grab my fork comb and just make sure that everything is smoothed out. Again, as you're working through your style, you want to keep it as clean as possible because this is what's gonna create your beautiful end result. Once we've combed through this, we're going to put it into 3 sections, and we're just going to do a simple braid all the way down. And you want to do this fairly tight, the braid, not super tight, but you don't want it super loose and big and fluffed out. So we're just going to braid it all the way down to the end. And we're going to leave a little bit of a tail. It doesn't have to be exactly all the way to the end, so we'll leave like a couple inches. And we're going to take a clear elastic band, and I'm just going to secure that braid. Make sure it's going to stay in there. And then at this point, I will usually grab a texture powder, and I just like to go down the braid with it. This is going to add extra texture so that when we're putting the rest of the style together, it's just going to help hold and create a good base for bobby pins to lock into and things like that. And you can even lift the braid up and spray more texture powder underneath as well. So we're going to go ahead and just twist this hair right here, and I'm going to just pull it out a little bit, and we're going to be using this tool right here, and I'm going to stick it through the top of this braid, And then we're gonna keep this hair twisted because I wanna pull it through the braid still twisted. And we're just going to, I'm gonna hold the braid and kind of help feed that through. And you can see it's kind of sagging down right here a little bit. So we're just gonna go ahead and pick it up, keep it twisted, and we're just going to pin it in up here so it doesn't create a weird gap. And then we're going to pin one right here into the braid. And I like to take the bobby pins and weave them in the middle. And by weaving them, that's gonna help this whole style stay locked in place. And then I like to take another one. And a lot of times when I'm doing this type of style, I'm using these really short bobby pins. So we're weaving that first one and then the other one is getting weaved in, and then it crisscrosses with that first one we put in. So everything's gonna stay locked into place. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. We're gonna grab the same amount of hair, and this is gonna be important too. You wanna start taking about the same amounts of hair on both sides, again, so it keeps the style proportional. And we're gonna just lightly twist this, and you can spray texture powder on it if you need to, and then just pinch and pull it out a little bit before we tuck it into the ponytail into the braid. And then you're gonna take that little ponytail looper and keep it twisted, and then you're just going to pull it through on this side. And then again, you're just gonna pinch and pull the amount out, and then you're gonna lock it in where you want it. So we're gonna take a bobby pin, and I want this to come up a little bit, so I'm gonna just weave that bobby pin in there. And then we're going to put one down here into the braid. And you just wanna make sure that the bobby pins get inside the braid, again, so they're not showing throughout the style. And then we're gonna take another bobby pin, and right where I put that first one, we're gonna just go in, weave it, and crisscross it. Then we're gonna go back here on this side, and again, just make sure everything's nice and smooth and combed out before you feed it through the braid. We're gonna lightly twist this. We're going to take our ponytail looper and just stick it through the middle of one of the braided sections. And we're gonna pull that through. And then go ahead and we're just going to grab a little bit of the hair we pulled through and weave it and lock it into that braid. Take another bobby pin and just lock it into the bobby pin you just put in. You can just pinch and pull as you go. If you want places, like more volume in certain places, you can just pinch and pull as you go and manipulate, and you can move pieces around and pin them where you want them. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take our next section right here, comb through it, make sure it's nice and smooth. We're gonna give it a little twist. Take our ponytail looper and just find the next section down the braid and pull it through. And it's important when you're pulling these through that you hold the place where you're pulling the hair through, because if not, it's gonna start to like mess up your style and can create unnecessary tension when you're pulling it through. So just make sure that you're helping hold where the hair is coming through. And then just kind of fluff that hair out a little bit. And take another bobby pin, lock it into the braid. We're gonna get another one to just crisscross that, make sure it's nice and secure. And this is just going to make sure that this style stays nice and secure all night long. So whoever's wearing it, if your bride's wearing it, it's not gonna fall out when she's dancing and moving her head from side to side and back and forth. All right, and we're going to take that ponytail looper and stick it through the braid by lightly twisting it, and just hold it to help it through, and then pinch and pull out the hair right here, and then go ahead and we'll pin that section into place. And we're going to take another bobby pin, and it's helpful to kind of hold your finger or your thumb where you place that first one so you don't lose where you put it, because you want to know where it is so you'll be able to crisscross them. All right, we're getting down close to the end, but we're still got a couple sections we're going to pull through. So we're going to take our next section, lightly twist it, and you absolutely can take these sections through the same sections as the previous. Towards the end, you're going to take them a little bit closer because the braid starts to run out. So this one is basically, it's kind of going into the same one as the one we just took. So don't be afraid to do that. You absolutely can do that. And we're just going to twist this side. Find a little opening, and this is why you don't want the braid too tight, because you want to be able to pull these through, especially when you get to the end. Sometimes it can get a little bit tighter, so just keep in mind you do want it a little bit looser so you can pull these through, but you don't want it too loose to where it's gonna be hard to keep the style together. We're gonna take a bobby pin and lock it into that braid. Keep your fingers there so you know where it is. I can feel it, and I'm just going to go in with this one and crisscross it. And we're going to take another section over here, and we're just going to twist and grab our ponytail looper. And you definitely want to bring this style down far enough to where it covers the whole braid. So if you can see right now, we have like a tiny bit of that braid left, and then the ponytail holder, and you don't want to see any of that in the style. So you want to keep going until at least all of that is covered. So we're going to twist and just stick it through the braid and bring it through, and we're going to come over here to this side, twist it, and put our ponytail looper through the braid, and we're going to pull that through. And if your braid is too tight and too small, you can easily downsize to a smaller one of these to finish pulling the hair down at the bottom if needed. All right, we're going to take another little section on this side and stick it at the end of this braid, pull it through, and again, just pinching and pulling and fluffing out the braid so it just flows nicely as you go all the way down. And then we're going to do one more section, and we'll just bring this last little section right here over to balance it and create a nice finish. So we're going to just lightly twist it, and I'm actually going to pull it through that same braid that I just did with the last one. And we're just going to pull that through, and then I'm going to go back through and just bobby pin those last few bottom sections Just gonna take this straight up through the middle, hold my thumb there so I know where that bobby pin is, and we're just going to crisscross that one in, lock it in, and then I'm gonna take a bobby pin and just grab some of this hair at the bottom and just make sure it covers that hair tie at the end, and then I just slid it up and locked it into those other 2 bobby pins I put in. And then at this point, I like to take some texture powder and just go over the whole style. This is going to help keep it locked in a lot of times better than hairspray. And then I'll go underneath and just pump a little bit more texture powder underneath as well. And then what I like to do at the end is I'll come in with a curling iron. This is just a 1-inch curling iron. And I'll just finish off the ends and make sure they're nice and smooth, give them the curl that I want them to have. And then I'm gonna come over on the sides and curl these pieces that we left out, and I'll show you how I weave them into the style. And these pieces I do want pretty curly. That way they just blend and flow into the style. And we're gonna curl this piece. And this is really just you use your artistic eye to feel it out where you want to place it and how you want to finish the style off. And just what your bride's preferences are. And then we'll curl this last piece. Okay, perfect. So we'll start right here with this piece, and I just want to kind of keep it twisted, and I'm going to use the ponytail looper to bring the pieces through the hair. So we're just going to stick it through there and pull it down through, and you can just lightly like pull it, make sure it flows with the side, and you want to make sure you take a bobby pin and just make sure it's gonna stay put right there. So we'll just go ahead and leave that one there. We'll take this one from the other side and we'll just weave it in where we think it's gonna look the best. And then if you decided that you or your bride didn't really like these whimsical pieces, you can easily go ahead and pin them into the style. Or maybe that's the look you're going for anyways. You just want to give this more texture. You can easily do that with these pieces by pinning them into the style. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin that piece in over here. And I'm just going in between sections and twists and things like that to pin to make sure it all stays hidden so you don't see the bobby pins. And then we're gonna bring this piece into the style. Stick my ponytail looper in there. And then we're just going to pull it down through the style. And you can even have it come to the side and just tuck it and pin it over here if you want pieces over here. So I think I'll do that for this piece. We'll just make sure it gets locked up into the braid or into another bobby pin so that it doesn't just slide out later. So I can feel another bobby pin back there and it's just gonna go right in and lock in. And then we'll do our last piece, and then these will just kind of stay up front. And we'll just do this one down on the side. Perfect. And then you can even just do a little bit of hairspray after just to lock in the whole style. You can continue to weave these pieces in if you feel like you want them placed differently. But this is the completed style. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial and you'll try it out. It's such a beautiful boho style. And I love using the extensions because it just adds that wow factor to the style.